So the dimensions in this room used to be bigger. It was big enough for this table here. This table used to be in this room with all 4 chairs around it. See, look how big this table is, and it used to fit right in there with all 4 chairs. This room has become a smaller size with fluxes in time. But I met with Dave and Catherine White, and we all sat at this table while it was in there. And now there isn't enough room for the table and 4 chairs. Okay, so in this letter, I kind of mentioned cranes. Okay, and crane birds, the crane bird has to do with how our buildings can flux and change. You know, we use the big cranes to build tall buildings. Crane birds have to do with that. Okay, so here's the next letter. Dear Governor, First Lady, Mayor, etc. Okay, because of the concerns about the contagiousness of the coronavirus, many property owners, property management, and other kinds of landlords are not making new lease agreements during this time. I have contacted many apartments for rent online and some by telephone only to get a reply, "We are not renting units available because of the coronavirus." Whenever it is that the stay-at-home orders will end, may it be that such landlords and/or agencies thereof will be comfortable and not be at risk, and may make new lease agreements with new renters at that time. May it be that the possible new renters will be comfortable and not at risk at that time also. It may be that risk reduction measures should be made when the stay-at-home orders end. The sterilization of units for rent should happen after each viewing, i.e. disinfecting light switches, doors, doorknobs and handles, toilet handles, seats, etc. Because renting probability and renting possibility excuse me, has been very minimal, asking and or making a person to leave a homeless shelter at the time that the stay-at-home orders will end is wrong and unethical and not wise. An extended stay that is more than sufficient so that residents of homeless shelters can rent apartments and succeed with renting apartments needs to be provided, granted and or given, whatever the case may be. When considering the need to succeed with having a home, there are many variables to consider, as well as obstacles to consider. There is also the need to succeed being healthy and wise. The first notification that I have seen posted was on the glass door of a local coffee shop. This notification was only for 48 hours. This was a notification for the stay-at-home orders or the lockdown. And it originally said it was only for 48 hours. We can see it's been much longer than that. Okay. We have to consider fluxes in time that happen. The very wording printed on this piece of paper posted flux and changed to be longer than 48 hours. I went back to the same coffee shop and I looked at the same piece of paper, and the wording on the page had fluxed and changed. My plans to rent an apartment and move out of the homeless shelter were ruined. It also may be that my plans were only put on hold for a while. When considering notifications that flux and change, one may experience distress and anxiety. Fluxes in time may be baffling and mysterious in nature. We have fables and symbolic stories because such things are a part of life. Consider the never-ending story and its sequels. Before this movie was altered, Atreyu goes to the mirror gate to go to the real world to get Bastian. Bastian then joins Atreyu on this quest to stop things from disappearing and to save the childlike empress from dying from a deadly illness. Bastian travels to Fantasia with Atreyu and they do things together on their adventure. At some point, Bastian has to go through the Sphinx with cranes on their heads. Instead of the Sphinx opening their eyes to shoot laser beams, so here the Sphinx, they're not shooting laser beams this time. These Sphinx with cranes on their heads open their mouths to screech an incinerating sound, a sonic sound, with the caw of a bird, to kill or attempt to kill any who attempt to surpass its threshold. So here's the set of Sphinx, and they want to just go through it, and with, they're going to open their mouths and an incinerating sonic sound that is with the caw of a bird cawing, or screeching, and then incinerates them with sonic sound. Okay, these are Sphinx with cranes on their heads. See, I've drawn feathers, check feathers on their heads for a reason. I also drew their tail feathers upward. Okay, has a crane perched on this building. Here's a picture I drew of the Refuge of Hope shelter, and across the street is a kind of a vacant lot where they have a fenced-in area with storage units that belong to the Refuge of Hope, and there's a house on the corner. This is all a field of grass and railroads, and then there's ruins. This is a building with ruins. Has a crane perched on this building before? Ruins. Consider how buildings used to be before they were altered. See, people who may want to consider how their homes have fluxed and changed sometimes go to a site with ruined buildings to meditate. Every city has such a site. Okay, I mean, in Phoenix, Arizona, there were buildings intentionally left in ruin for a reason. I mean, we're in the spiritual planes, and we kind of somehow, make sure that these ruins stay there for a strategic reason. So here we have the shelter facing these ruins for a reason. Okay, any given Atreyu may need to check a wolf here in the ruins. A wolf symbolizing an adversary. There are ruins in Hollywood also. There are ruins in Phoenix, Arizona. There are ruins in, Montana. Okay, this house was not here, and the Refuge of Hope shelter was on this big lot. We have had fluxes in time, and the building that the shelter is in has fluxed and changed. I'm also going to be talking about how the building at ICANN. See, ICANN Housing is a part of this rental agreement I'm a part of right now. And its building also has fluxed and changed. So I'm going to talk more about that. Okay. Has a crane perched on this building. Okay, this is where the Refuge of Hope shelter, this is the Refuge of Hope shelter where it is now. We can consider how this building used to be before it was altered. See, this is, there's something about a flux in time and ruining plans with the changes of a building, okay? But that something has become evident recently with an electricity bill. See, there's a mystery going on right now with electricity bill. Ohio Edison supplies the electricity. See, there's a lamp there on that side and a lamp there on that side. And it's electrical. There are electrical lamps. Okay? All right. But, see, this used to be on this lot before Flux in Time, but there were other previous stages. Consider turtle shells and shelters. Okay, the never-ending story has a big turtle in it. Okay, when considering changed notifications and paperwork, we can consider the book with the Orin symbol on its cover. When Bastian thumbs through the pages he has not read yet, he makes the observation that there is nothing on the pages. So he has the book and he's reading the never-ending story, and he thumbs through the pages he hasn't read yet, and there's blank. They're blank pages. Okay, it's as if the story hasn't even been written before he reads it. Words are not on the page until he reaches the page reading the book. This is metaphoric of something true, and such things that really do happen. Okay, so here I have a Sphinx's head with a turkey sitting on it. What does that look like? See, these are laser beams. There's a Sphinx with a crane sitting on her head. What does that sound like? Incinerating sonic sound. Okay, so with our next set of Sphinx, we want to go ahead and consider Czechoslovakia and the chicken. So we have turkey, crane, chicken. Okay, and here we show a Sphinx with a chicken sitting on her head, and a glowing light begins to glow at her chest, at her heart. And then coming out of the light are arrows surging with power. Here, see here, this is surging. See, I've drawn a couple of them here, 3 of them. What is your heart like? All right. You cannot think about how checkable I am and how you can check me. A funny character with the altering of the movie. See, once the story was altered, the movie, the cinema production was altered with a flux in time, and then it had this funny other kind of character. These were ellipted, and this was kind of a replacement character. The sequel to The Never-Ending Story 2, was also altered from what it was when it originally debuted. It had another set of Sphinxes with chickens sitting on their heads. See, in here I have the mirror gate, here's turkey, and here's the ones with crane, and here's the ones with chicken. So I also want you to consider this when considering the game Duck, Duck, Goose. Okay? Alright, so the deathly obstacle these Sphinxes make are incinerating arrows from their hearts. A glowing light appears at their chests, heart, and arrows come from them. After the movie was altered, The Never-Ending Story 2 only had an adult-sized chicken character. The Sphinxes were missing. Okay, so these Sphinxes with chicken on their heads went missing, and this adult-like chicken remained, kind of replaced them. Okay, improving our hearts by making sure that the residents of the shelter have more than sufficient time and resources to succeed with having a home. In most cases, this is by renting an apartment that is a part of a fair housing program, is what the Refuge of Hope staff and government personnel should do. It would be heartless and perhaps shameful to kick us out then, right and there, when the stay-at-home orders end. There have not been too many chances at all to find an apartment during this time. Okay, have you received a mystical bag of fried chicken from somebody? Maybe may there be a secret bird that has to do with Ohio? There is. Sincerely, David B. Rogers, Taffy. Do you acknowledge that I am a refugee? I am.